and no one said no to us. So we've been able to accumulate quite a diverse list of guests, but over the last 2 years, we really kind of honed back in on our wheelhouse, which is college athletics, New Jersey athletics, specifically cross country, track and field, and wrestling. Those are the sports that Jimmy and I competed in. As we got older, Jimmy kind of migrated towards wrestling. And then when I went to college, I focused on cross country and track and field. I ran at Monmouth University
Okay.
and did that. And then Jimmy and I are both junior college All-Americans, myself in cross country, Jimmy in wrestling. So we're just trying to get the word out. We know that a lot of the Power Four schools get a lot of the shine, whether it's on Flow Track or Flow Wrestling or a lot of the media outlets. But as junior college athletes, we know there's opportunities and avenues for student athletes, regardless of what your standing is or what your athletic ability is in high school. And so we're just trying to have conversations with coaches like yourselves with programs at Tiffin that are doing great things and giving opportunities to student athletes. So, um, yeah, we're excited to get into it with you this evening.
No, I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys.
All right, let's rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, howdy and aloha. Welcome to another episode of Airey Bros Radio. We are here, you are there, and you are now rocking with the best. And we appreciate you tuning in. Tonight, we're stepping back onto the track with fellow New Jersey native, a coach who's been building standout programs across the country at the NCAA Division II level. You already know why we do this. We're here to shine a light on athletes, coaches, and programs we wish we had access to growing up. But before we get rolling, you know the checklist. Hammer that like button. Drop a comment. Your engagement helps more student athletes find the right fit. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And as always, this episode is fueled by Black Sheep Endurance for all your ultra marathon and nutrition coaching needs. On to tonight's guest. Coach Mark Del Monaco is the newly appointed director of track and field and cross country at Tiffin University in Tiffin, Ohio. And he's someone who's been building nationally respected programs in Division II for over a decade. A couple of Coach Del Monaco's highlights: he's coached 10 All-Americans, 32 school record holders, and a 2025 national champion at Tiffin. He led Minot State to its best ever finish in XC and track. He was assistant coach with stops at Metropolitan State University in Denver and Cal State East Bay. He was a post-collegiate runner with Puma and Boulder, then the Boulder Track Club. He is a LaSalle alumni, and as I mentioned, he is also a New Jersey native. Coach Del Monaco is ready to lead the Dragons into a new chapter. Let's get into it. Coach Del Monaco, it is an honor and pleasure to have you joining us this evening. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor. We always love conversations with coaches like yourself, but when we have these little connections where we can make the world even a little bit smaller, it makes for a great conversation. So we're excited to get into it with you, have a couple through lines for you. But before we do get into it, Coach, anywhere you would like athletes, families, recruits to find you, to find the Dragons, anything you got on social media, the floor is yours.
Yeah, on Instagram, you can find me mark.delmonaco. That's probably the most accessible I am on Instagram in terms of reaching out to me. Our team is also on Instagram on Tiffin_XCTF. Those are probably the two main ways to get a hold of me or our coaches in our program, and also ways to kind of see what we're going on, with all the highlights and how the student athletes are doing and how the program is doing.
Awesome. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes for you as well. And so, Coach, probably the most important question we're going to ask you all evening. You know, you really put a smile on Jimmy's face within the first 30 seconds of joining us. You said you're from Central Jersey. Jimmy and I take a lot of pride in being from Central Jersey. We travel around and a lot of people say there's no such thing as Central Jersey, but there is, and we have pride in it. And I think because you said that, I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
It is pork roll.
Boy, let's go. We liked you, coach. Excellent, excellent. And so, yeah, so as I was mentioned before, too, our other through line for you was that Jimmy and I spent, I was there for about 4 years. Jimmy was there for 5 years in Denver. We lived near Wash Park.
Okay.
Um, and so, like I said, we got this show rolling in the spring of 2019 in the Tivoli Station. I actually was a canning technician at the brewery there as well for a short period of time.
Okay.
So we are well versed at the campus there. We love it there. We miss it dearly. We used to walk by and wish we could get back into the radio station, but life has taken us in other directions. But we're doing what we're doing here, and we're excited to chat with you this evening. Jim, what do you got?
So, Coach, where before we get rock and rolling, where in Denver were you living? How long were you in Denver for?
Yeah, so I moved to Boulder originally after I graduated college, joined a professional training group out there and was with a bunch of pros, semi-pros for about 2 years. Um, my own running wasn't going too well. So I kind of was thinking about like the next phase of my life, and I'd always wanted to get into coaching. So a good friend of mine, John Supsick, he was actually the head coach at Metro State at the time. And he had just resigned. So his assistant got promoted, and I just happened to be having dinner with John that evening, and kind of told him like, hey, like, there's a new guy. I need any help? I always wanted to be a college coach, and what do I have to do? I guess. And John let me know that he kind of owed him a favor. So he put in a word for me, and took the bus down to Metro, down to the old Union Station in downtown. Actually got lost trying to find the coaches' offices across campus. I had never really been to Denver, even though it was really close to Boulder. I'd mostly stayed up in Boulder to do everything. So it was my first time in Denver, and I remember calling or texting the head coach at the time, Nick Moss, who's now at Wisconsin Parkside. And I was like, yeah, I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm walking. I felt really bad because it was sort of like an interview and I was late. And so, but yeah, eventually hit it off with him, and yeah, it was a great 3 years in Denver. I then I moved to Denver after my second year, I guess, to kind of answer your question. I didn't like the commute all the way down to Denver every day because we practiced in the morning. So to get on the bus from Boulder to Denver, I was waking up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock every day, and then it was only a part-time gig, so I was getting back on the bus to go back up to Boulder to my main job. And those first couple months, like I would get back on the bus after practice and I would just fall asleep for that hour or so back up to Boulder. So I got tired of that and realized if I moved to Denver, I could sleep in a little bit more and head straight to practice and then go to my regular job. So I lived in the Cap Hill section,
Nice.
right on 10th and Sherman. So kind of near everything. Was able to get on the creek path to run. I love Wash Park. It's my favorite park in probably all of America.
Yep.
I love love going down there and running on the gravel. That gravel loop that's right around the park. And when I was still doing kind of road races, I loved running on the inner loop on the concrete. So, but yeah, I lived there for 2 years, and then. Yeah, I was kind of at another crossroads in life and wanted to get into coaching full time. So that's when I moved on to Cal State East Bay.
Well, Coach, you are speaking our language because I don't want to speak for Rich, but Wash Park is my favorite park in America. We spent a lot of times there. For 4 or 5 years, you could see me walking barefoot daily in Wash Park. That was my spot every morning, every night. So, yeah, you're speaking our language there. But just got the head coaching position, director of track and field cross country. I don't want to take that title away from you, but if I did my if I did my research correct, this is your first time as a head coach or director of track and field cross country. How's it feel to take over the program, and what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so this is actually my second time as
I
a
didn't do my
director.
research right. Sorry.
So this is actually the second time I've been a head coach or a director of a program. My first was at Minot State, right after East Bay. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a much different feel this time around. I was 29 when I took over Minot State. I was very young. And it was a lot of learning early on. Now I'm almost 8 years later that I feel like I've learned a lot. I've grown. I was able to take a step back and just focus on distance running for the last 3 years. But during that time, I was able to reflect on, leadership qualities and, coaching, how to coach certain student athletes and having those tough conversations and all those things that maybe the first time around I felt like, I fell a little short in. So, yeah, I'm really excited to, take the role here at Tiffin. It's a powerhouse of a program in Division II. I just want to keep the ball rolling here and keep the success coming for the entire program now, not just the distance group. I want good throwers, good sprinters, good jumpers. We really want to continue to be, a marquee name in track and field in Division II.
Is there a big difference from being a head coach to being a director? Is there some more hats you have to wear now?
I was explaining this to my athletic director here at Tiffin because they had never really had a director title. It had always been head track and field and cross country, or, when I was just a head cross country coach, they had a head track and field coach and a head cross country coach. So I kind of explained it to her that it was just kind of like a fancy title that a lot of programs are using nowadays, and that there's really not much of a difference in terms of my role and my responsibilities. Um, whether I'm a head coach or a director of a program.
And it's both men's and women's, correct?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. So it's men's and women's track and field and cross country.
okay. And when I guess you guys are gearing up for fall, when are the student athletes coming back? Or
Yeah,
are
so
they
they'll be
back?
back. They'll be back on August 17th. So it's coming up really shortly here. The cross country team will report, and they'll be back about a week early before school gets going. And then the following weekend is when just the rest of campus moves in. So that's when the track and field team will show up, and we'll have meetings that first week. We have a bunch of new coaches on staff this year, so kind of familiarizing them with their new event coach. And then obviously we have new freshmen transfers, things like that. So it's kind of a lot of ice breaking that first week before we get going for practice.
Coach, you mentioned the last time you were head coach, you're a little bit younger, a little bit more mature now. You spent some time just focusing on the distance, but now you are the CEO of the program. In that time of just doing the distance events, what were you kind of thrown in your toolbox as far as this is how I'm going to run the program when I get that head coaching position over? And what do you plan on doing as far as delegating tasks and events that you're going to give it to other people? And what task are you looking forward to kind of taking the wheel of?
Yeah, so yeah, the last 3 years, I mean, I really was able to take a step back and just really hyper focus on cross country, distance running. And I would say during that time, I really was able to focus on maybe the training aspect, because when you're the director or the head coach of a program, you're worried about budgets, you're worried about roster numbers, you're worried about, meetings with your athletic director, all those types of things. So I didn't quite have that burden as just the head cross country coach here at Tiffin. So I was able to maybe focus more on the student athlete side of things, and what did I have to do to get a guy or gal to NCAs or get a PR or score at conference, win conference, things like that. And I learned a lot during that time without having the responsibility of finances, of fundraising. I never really had to do that at my other stops, so I learned a lot. Being at Tiffin in terms of fundraising, how important that is, and how that can really impact your program in a positive way. And then talking a little bit about scholarships, learn how to really delegate scholarships and divvy them out, and what you're looking for specifically in a student athlete at a high level program like this. You're maybe asking kids that in the past at other programs I've been at, I maybe would have given, money to, but now I'm asking them to walk on or giving them a lower scholarship. Yeah, in the new role here, it's a lot more administrative work. So it's a lot more dealing with budgets, dealing with paying invoices. Like you said earlier, it's like being a CEO of a company. So I'm dealing a lot with that now. In terms of day to day, we have 5 full-time coaches, so we're really fortunate to have that support from our administration. So I am able to, delegate recruiting tasks, delegate, visits or equipment, and ordering stuff, and all those kinds of things that, if there was only me or one other person, or in some places it's just the head coach and graduate assistants that I would have to take on not only the burden of the administrative side of things, but also, hey, I got to make sure the locker room's clean. I got to make sure the recruiting visits are set up, and I got to make sure, I'm texting X amount of recruits every day. I'm able to give that stuff to our assistant coaches. And with our new staff, I've told them I really want to know what they feel like their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, so that it can be a high functioning program. And we're not dropping the ball in any one area. So once we get everyone together and back on campus here, really making sure that it's a well-oiled machine.
So, Coach, you mentioned those scholarships and getting to talk to all the different coaches from the different divisions. We get to get into the nitty-gritty of scholarships. And being a young student athlete, I had no idea how scholarships work. You always hear about people getting full rides and getting money to go to this Division 1 school. Little did you know, you're like, yeah, you're getting 5 grand, but you're also paying 20 grand to go to that Division 1 school. So, how do scholarships work at Tiffin? And what kind of student athletes are you looking to give scholarships to? And what kind of student athletes are you looking at? Hey, you might have to walk on to earn that scholarship.
Yeah, so here at Tiffin, the way we work scholarships is, and I would say, because we are a private school, and school is maybe a little bit more expensive than your average state school, we really look at the whole financial package. So it's not just athletic scholarships. So we have great merit aid here. We look at the FAFSA. We look at other grants that you could get through the university, and we package that all together. I would say if you look at any financial aid offer we give a recruit, it's probably the athletic portion of it is probably, a decent size of the or the scholarship offer, but it's not everything. You might be getting, if a certain amount of dollars athletically, but you might be getting, $20,000 academically, which will be a lot more than you would be getting athletically. And so when we package that all together and present it to the recruit, we factor all of those things in. In terms of times and marks and things like that, I would say the bottom tier of what we look at is really, can you score at the conference meet for us? And then from there, like, how far or how high can you score at the conference meet? So can you get top 8, just score? Can you be top 3, which is all conference? Can you win the conference? In Division 2 in track and field, they have certain marks that are considered provisional times, or marks that'll get you on the national list. So then we start to look at that as well. Are you someone that can come in and hit those marks and be on the national qualifying list? And then most recently, Division 2 has gone to set field. So that's 18 indoors and 22 outdoors. So can you be in the top 18 and make the national meet? You've been top 22 outdoors and make the national meet. And then once you're at the national meet, can you be an All-American? Can you be a national champion? So it's really a tiered system. That's how we look at a lot of things. And I always try to tell recruits, like, hey, just because you're coming in maybe as a walk-on, or maybe on a lower scholarship, our national champion that we had in the distance group, she came in on a lower scholarship, and by the end she was on a pretty high scholarship, because she had done really well every year that she had been here. And so there's always the possibility to earn more money.
And so, Coach, as you've been out west, you're back sort of getting closer and closer to home on the east. What is your recruiting strategy? I'm sure you've got networks all over the country now. You've got ties in Philadelphia and in New Jersey. Are we going to see some Jersey athletes wearing the green and gold pretty soon?
Yeah, I would love to. I've lived 4 very different areas of the country, and I've always tried to get Jersey kids, especially when I was at Minot State, because they didn't charge out of state tuition. So I always have looked at my home state and try to get people wherever I was. But that mid-Atlantic, that Northeast corridor is so densely populated with universities and things like that. It's hard sometimes to pull kids out when they have a million options, only anywhere from 1 to 3 hours away from where they grew up.
Mhm.
My cousin, he's the head coach of Union Catholic.
Oh, nice.
Very
It's a
powerhouse
good
program.
pipeline.
Yeah, so Coach Sydney McLaughlin, and
Yeah.
has coached a young lady that just ran 201 as a sophomore in high school. So he's done a great job. But yeah, I've always talked to him and tried to get some of his athletes out to wherever I've been, because I know they are usually running pretty fast or throwing pretty far, jumping pretty high, under him. But yeah, I would say Ohio is a really great track and field state. I would say recruiting wise, for many of our event groups, you don't need to go outside of Ohio. We may venture into Western Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Indiana. But there's a lot of talent here in Ohio. I would say one of the big obstacles being in Ohio is it is also a very densely populated state in terms of universities.
Mhm.
There's two Division III conferences, a Division II conference. I think two Division I conferences between the MAC and the Horizon League. So there are a lot of options. Then you factor in NAIA schools. As well. So, but we want the best kids to come here, and I say that anytime I talk to someone like you guys, or I talk to recruits, or even just alumni, I say I don't really care where you're from. I want the fastest people to come to Tiffin University and come compete for us. One thing that has really worked well for me since when I was the distance coach here has been international recruiting. I've developed a lot of really great connections through agents and companies that work with student athletes overseas. So that has gone really well for me, and I hope to continue to do that as well. So we're looking all over. We have students from Arizona, from California, Ohio. I think we have 6 or 7 countries represented within our program this upcoming year. So yeah, we just want the best guys and gals that we can get, and that as long as they're a great fit for Tiffin.
Yeah, no doubt. And talking about that great fit, sometimes on paper, kids can run fast or throw far or jump high or jump far. Um, but that's not necessarily an indicator of who they are as a human. So how are you sifting through that and finding those top marks, but also finding the right humans that fit the right vibe and culture at Tiffin?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that has really changed for me in 12, going on 13 years of being a college coach is when I was at Metro State, I was 23, 24. I just wanted to win and win all the time. And if you were fast, I didn't really care about anything else. Like I wanted you to be a part of the program, or it didn't matter about your grades or who your character or anything like that. And I think that's a big trap that I see now, later on in my coaching career when I see young coaches is, they just want all the accolades and all that stuff. So, more recently, I would say probably in the last 6 or 7 years, I always tell recruits the reason we're reaching out to you is your times or your marks. That's what caught our eye. That's why I sent you a DM, or why we contacted your coach or sent you an email. And then from there, just trying to fit, the mold of what they want in a university or their college experience and what we have to offer. So I like to ask a lot of those questions, when I'm on the phone with them initially. Are you looking for, a big city? Are you looking for a city like Denver? Because Tiffin is a town of 15,000 people. So if you're looking for, a city like Denver, then we're probably not the right fit for you. Are you looking for a big university, a medium-sized university, or small university? What do you want from there? And then, in terms of coaching, what kind of coach do you want? What kind of team do you want? Do you want a team that's really cohesive? Do you want a team that is maybe not as connected, but just wins all the time? Things like that. So I like to ask a lot of those questions, and then based on, the responses from whomever I'm talking to, factor in like, hey, this guy or gal might be a really good fit for us, or, hey, they want a big university. Tiffin's a university of about 3,000 students. Like, I don't know if that's going to really fit for us. Um, and then if we move on from there and get them on campus, I rely a lot on the guys and gals, within our program when they get to hang out with the recruit, because they're gonna have conversations, and they're gonna talk about things that they would never talk about with me in my office or on a recruiting visit. So we certainly have had some of our guys and gals come back and say, yeah, like they told me they can't wait to party when they get to campus and things like that. And that's maybe an instant red flag that, hey, I don't know if it's going to work out here. And so maybe we just say, hey, like, we appreciate your interest, but we're going to go in a different direction. So yeah. And the last thing I always say to recruits is, you know I really want you here. That's why I'm talking to you. That's why I have you on a visit. But ultimately, like, I want you to be here. I want you to be invested in Tiffin University and what we have going on here, and be excited to be a student athlete and a part of our program. Um, our distance runners during the indoor season. We have a great indoor facility here on campus, but we have a lot of varsity teams here, so we have to share the space throughout the winter. So we have to go at 6 a.m. During the indoor season with our distance runners. And I would say, when that alarm goes off at 5 or 5:15, and you got to roll out of bed, and it's under 20 degrees outside. If you're not excited to be here, you're probably going to hit the snooze button a few times, and you may, just sleep straight through practice because really you're here for all the wrong reasons. So I really do factor in, not only the times and all those questions that I asked, but are you going to be happy being at Tiffin? Because ultimately, this is your college experience. This is where you're going to spend the next, 4 or 5 years of your life. And, is it a place that when you graduate from here, you're going to look back on and say, hey, I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I competed for Tiffin. I'm glad I, got a degree from there. I had great coaches, great teammates, and, overall I had a great experience.
Coach, you mentioned that checklist you have of questions to make sure that the student athlete is going to be happy with the program and the experience. You mentioned being a campus of 3,000 students. What are some of the majors that stand out for people that go to Tiffin? What is the typical student athlete that's happy there? And what does a typical Friday or Saturday night look like for the student athletes when you guys aren't traveling?
Yeah, so I would say our most popular majors right now on campus are business, exercise science. We have a couple criminal justice majors within our program. Those are probably the three most popular. We also have cybersecurity, computer science as well. But I would say business and exercise science are probably the two most popular, within the program. Um, and then I'm sorry, can you repeat the last question, I guess?
When you guys aren't traveling to compete, what are the student athletes doing for fun, for extracurriculars as far as just being
Sleeping.
social?
Yeah. Yeah, they're probably sleeping because they're running so much. But yeah, it's so as I mentioned, we're a town of 15,000 people. But we are located between three major cities. So Columbus, Cleveland, and Detroit are all within about an hour and a half drive. So Toledo's 50 minutes up the road. So if you are someone that still wants, to go to a concert or go to a Cleveland Browns game, Detroit Lions game, Pistons, things like that, you can certainly get out of town and do that. A couple of the Europeans on our team, there was some concert up in Detroit of some artist, and I guess that was really popular overseas, and they went up and saw him. But yeah, within Tiffin itself, I would say it is a quieter area. We have restaurants, we have bars, we have coffee shops, bookstores, things like that. We have all the fast food amenities you could want, Chipotle, McDonald's, Buffalo Wild Wings. So I'd probably have to ask the guys and the gals what they do on weekends if they're not just sitting in their dorms or their houses and hanging out waiting for the next practice or long run or whatever we may be doing. But I would say it never gets too mischievous, in Tiffin. And that's probably a good thing. They can focus on school, focus on academics.
Yeah, it's like what Coach Fierro from Clarion said, whether it's 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, everyone in town knows who you are. So you better make sure you're
Exactly.
you're being a good person
Yeah,
and making the right
exactly.
decisions. Um, Coach, I want to go back to the coaching and that aspect of your role and everything. Question we always like to hear when we're talking about that CEO role and things we like to do, maybe things we pass off. Who gets to do the expense reports?
Oh, so I would say that that's probably evenly divided. All of our full-time coaches have credit cards, so my AD likes to really get on me that I need to be better about that in submitting those and things like that. But now in my new role, what I've really tried to do is keep track of that. So with our assistants, after meets or anything that we're spending money on, really tracking it to make sure we have an accurate count of how much budget we have and what we've spent and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of our coaches are responsible for submitting their credit card receipts. It can be daunting. I certainly don't enjoy it. And like I said, my AD and my yearly evaluations, that's one thing she always harps on me for.
Okay. And as a distance guy, we're always curious. We've had the coaches from Wingate on a few times, some of their athletes as well. And, the popular trend in the distance world these days is the double threshold training. Are you all dabbling in the world, the double threshold at all up at Tiffin?
We have, yeah. So I started that 2 years ago now. It was kind of when it was just becoming popular, and I really didn't know much about it, so I had to read into it. I'm a big fan of Mike Smith over at NAU, so did a lot of research and what was it all about, and so yeah, we started it 2 years ago with a couple guys, and they had some really massive PRs. That following spring, we did it in between our indoor season, heading into outdoors for probably about four or so weeks. And we had guys. I had a guy open up 10K in 29:55. I had another guy who was about a nine. I think he was 9:30 steeple, 9:20 steeple. He ran 8:57 and made NCAs. Had another guy run right below 32 minutes in the 10K in his debut. So, for then on out, I was kind of hooked and kind of tinkering with what works really well for the people we have. We don't do it with everybody just because the amount of mileage that is
Mhm.
in that one day. Our guys were doing anywhere between 18 to 20 miles on any given day between warm-ups and cool downs and the actual workouts. And I've also looked at, like, Andy Powell over at Washington. He does maybe threshold in the morning and some speed work in the afternoon. So I would say it hasn't always necessarily been straight double threshold. But it's worked really well for our guys. This past year, we had a guy run 14:06, another guy run 14:08. We had a 3:45, a five guy in the 1500. So it really depends on who you are and what you can handle. We try to be as individualistic as we can within our program, when giving workouts and mileage assignments.
Okay. And including cross country, but across into track and field with from the 800 on up to the 10K. Do you have a favorite event that you like to coach?
So I'm a distance guy myself. I could not sprint. I don't think I ever broke 60 in the 400, even with the wind to my back. I probably ran 60 flat. But we had a guy from England. He just graduated. Tiffin here is actually at Minot State with me, and transferred here when I got this job. And he put in my head probably about 3, 4 years ago now that the 800 was my best event in terms of coaching and success and things like that. So I really just dove into that. I don't know if I just bought what he was selling, I guess, and just started really diving into 800-meter training, middle distance training, and immerse myself in different coaches and how they do things. And a good friend of mine who's also the head coach at Metro State, who started the programs back up, Pete Julian, Coach Donovan Brazier, and Craig
Hmm.
Engels and Sinclair Johnson for a little while. He had a really great group out in Portland, Oregon, which is middle distance oriented. So picked his brain, watched a lot of YouTube videos and flow track videos, and whatever I could get my hands on. So but yeah, I would say probably the 800 and 1500 is probably now my favorite events to coach, and probably where I've had the most success on the men's and women's side. Which is funny to say because I think my PR is only 2:12 in the 800. Like, I've coached women that could probably kick my butt. So, but yeah, those are probably my two favorite events to coach. Indoors and outdoors. A little nerve-wracking because they're very short, so not a lot of time for mistakes.
Hmm.
But really, where I feel like I've grown as a coach from when I started to where I am now.
Okay. Did you happen to catch the 800 at the U.S. Championships, the men's 800?
So I did not. I was actually on a camping trip in Colorado. So
Okay.
I just got back on Monday. So every August 1st, I have a group of friends who are just a bunch of old runners now, and we get together, for about 2.5 days or so, and we go camping up in the mountains. So I was down near Pueblo and like Colorado Springs, out to the west, and the Sangre de Cristo mountain
Oh
range
yeah.
there,
Beautiful.
down in West Cliff. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's we had no cell service, so couldn't keep track of the meet or anything. We knew it was going on, but had no way of figuring out how people were doing. And then when I got back down on Sunday afternoon, instantly checked Instagram and Twitter, and got a couple of texts. Did you see this race? Did you see that race? But no, I wasn't able to see anything. I heard about the 800. I was actually we were back in kind of cell service range, but I was on the road, so I didn't have like a TV or access to anything like that. But yeah, I watched the highlights since. Super impressed. I'm super happy for Donovan Brazier.
Yeah.
I was able to meet him 3 years ago when Pete was coaching him, and I know Pete was with him through kind of his injury woes after he won the World Championship, set the American record. So to see him come back has just been absolutely amazing. And then another one of his former athletes, Sinclair Johnson. I know she's been fourth place, so the first spot out to make the team was awesome. And then one of Pete's athletes got third, Emily Mackay, in the 1500. So yeah, I wasn't able to see anything, but definitely caught up on all the results and how people did.
Well, you're recharging the batteries out in Colorado, so we get
Yeah,
we get down with that, no doubt. Did
yeah, I
you
call it the best 36 hours of my summer. No one can bother me. No text messages, no emails or anything.
That's awesome. I need that in my life.
Yeah, I'll take 36 hours in Colorado anytime you're ready to go, Rich.
All right.
Coach, not to completely derail the conversation, I want to get into the cross country season coming up, but you brought up Colorado, and we usually ask our Colorado friends at the beginning of every podcast if they have a favorite 14er. Do you have a favorite 14er?
So that's a great question. So on this trip that I go on every year, we try to hike a 14er. I don't know if I have a favorite one. We hiked Mount Sneffels last year, and I got dropped pretty handily by the group. I don't think I ate enough beforehand, and so I was telling them this year. I said it's probably the only time on this trip that I was ready to just like if somebody pushed me off the side of a cliff, like I would have just accepted my fate and tumbled off the side of the mountain. Like I was just so dehydrated, so out of it. But no, I don't have a favorite one. They're so rewarding when you get to the top, the views, and it seems like the clouds are right below you. But no, I don't have a favorite one. I enjoy doing it every year. It's definitely the highlight of the trip, for me at least. I'm sure quite a few of the other guys that are on there, they enjoy it as well. I was actually looking at ordering like a poster or something on my plane ride back the other day to just start checking them off because
Yeah.
I've started to forget which ones we've gone up and which ones we haven't.
Well, Coach, if it makes you feel any better, that guy over there has dropped me on multiple 14ers and multiple runs in Colorado. So we have that in common. But get back to Tiffin. Cross country season is coming up. Who do we need to keep an eye on, and what do we have to look forward to coming from the team this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our men's and women's team. On the men's side, we have two guys returning, Ramon Rodriguez and Louis Janan, from Spain and France. And Ramon qualified for NCAAs. I ran 3:45 last year in the 1500. Louis actually, he would have qualified for NCAAs. He ran 29:20. And so as I mentioned earlier, they take 22 guys to outdoors. He was 23rd, and I kept telling him all outdoor season. I was like, oh man, like I don't think you're gonna make it. Like I hardly ever see anyone scratch out of the 10K. And he was actually fighting a little bit of a hip glute injury all of spring season. But we get the scratch list, after declarations, and he would have been like 18th or so. So he would have made NCAs. But we shut him down just because the injury was kind of getting a little bit worse, and we didn't think going to NCAs kind of at 50% wasn't worth it. So those two will be leading our men's team, and we've brought in some really great graduate transfers, two guys from England who have run 3:51 and 14:34 for 1500 and 5K. So we return, some really good guys, and we want to make a run at the conference title on the men's side. So it's never been done before here at Tiffin for all the success that they have had. They've been a really big sprint and throws powerhouse throughout their history, and that's probably what they're really known for. So we hope we can kind of add a little distance history to that this upcoming fall. Add a cross country trophy to the hallway. On the women's side, so we lost our All-American and national champion Ines McAdam. But her sister, Greta McAdam, will be returning for us. It'll be her last year running cross country. And then we have a sophomore and a senior, Ali Denny and Audrey Sanzone, that'll lead our women's team. So our women are probably a little bit more, they're probably middle of the GMAC right now. I'm really excited about our top three. They've been training really hard all summer. We're definitely a little bit young after those three, so we'll be relying on some freshmen and sophomores to really step up. So you really never know how the transition is going to go for a freshman, whether you're a guy or gal coming up to college. So we're hoping it's a little seamless on the women's side, and we can finish in that upper half. Maybe make a run at top three or top four on the women's side.
So you mentioned the women having good summer training. I'm curious how you kind of monitor the summer training because I've heard some legendary stories about my brother over there having some epic summer training, coming in for the first week of cross country and being ready for NCAs, and coach being like, I don't know what to do with you right now. So I know we have apps and stuff that we can track kids and track what they're doing. So how do you kind of monitor that? And have you had situations where kids are putting in a lot of miles in the summer and then come in and it's like, well, I don't know what to do with you right now because we still have a whole season to go.
Yeah, so if there's any NCA compliance people watching this, like, we don't monitor or we don't mandate anything. We definitely am able to look at it like on Strava and things like that. But we send them a summer training plan, and we expect them to follow it. And we break everyone down into mileage groups based on, what they did with us, if they're a sophomore heading into sophomore year or above, or if they're coming off their high school senior year as a freshman. So we send them a training plan and say, hey, this is what you should be doing day to day. I always tell them I take the thinking out of it for you because all you have to do is look at, your mileage group and what you have to do for that day. It's all written out, all planned. I do tell them I understand that, summer, you might be on vacation with your families or you might have things pop up. And so I definitely give them the leeway to switch things around if they need, or, I always tell them like, you're probably going to miss a couple days here and there, but you start missing 2 days here, 3 days there, 4 days there. When you start adding that up and we're only gone for 8 or 9 weeks, that's maybe like a week and a half of missed summer training, which is a lot. So we try to give all of that information to them prior to leaving campus. Or if they're incoming, I send out a really long email of just like, here are the expectations. Here's what we're looking for. If you're having any issues, let's chat. I can help you the best I can. The NCAA doesn't allow us to meet with them at all in the summer, so I really don't have any control. It's kind of one of those things that we gave you all the information, all the resources, all the tools. I hope you show up in 11 days here and you're in shape and ready to go. Um, but as far as summer training and how we structure it, I started this last year and it worked out really well for our men and women. We don't do any workouts, which may not be the norm for a lot of programs in the summer. So we just do straight mileage. We build you up. I work backwards from November when our regional meet is, and we start sometime in late May, early June. Build you back up. And then, yeah, we're just running miles every day. I found probably about 3 years ago, giving them workouts. They may be on vacation somewhere and they can't find a track or they can't find a hill or things like that. So I said to myself, like, I'm just going to tell you, just go run. Like, just you should be able to go run for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it is, right out your hotel door or right out your door back home in your hometown. And then we start, workouts, a little bit closer to when they get back to campus. So actually this upcoming Friday, they'll do their first workout of the entire summer. So they'll do about 2 or 3 workouts before they get back on campus. And then after that, we're back together, and everything will be a little bit more structured from there on out. So it's maybe not the norm. I know some coaches like to start in July. They start doing tempos and they start doing all that kind of stuff. But like you said, I don't want you to show up too in shape. When August 17th hits, I want to be able to, have you grow a little bit and have you gain a little bit more fitness. I definitely made the mistake. Probably, I think it was 2 years ago now. We had a men's team very similar to the one that's coming back this upcoming fall, and it was the first time as a coach I had ever really been in a position to win a conference title as a team. And I probably had them rocking and rolling the first 2 meets. We were running like lights out. We looked absolutely just invincible, and we were just hammering these workouts on the track or on the grass. And mid-October hit, when the really important stuff rolls around, and we just looked like we were running on fumes at that point. So really, really tried to learn from that as it's not all about how you look in September. It's about how you look in, late October and November. And it's okay if you get off to a slower start as long as you're finishing really strong at the conference, regional, and NCAA meet.
When's going to be the first test for the Dragons this fall?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a home meet September 5th right here in Tiffin. We host one home meet a season, so it's right down at our outdoor athletics complex. It'll be a 5K for the men and women. It's flat, it's fast, so hopefully they can gain some confidence for that, get a PR, and then 2 weeks later we'll be down at the All Ohio Championships in Cedarville.
Are you guys going to Parkside for pre-nationals?
We are. We will be out there September 27th. So my old boss at Metro, Nick Moss, is the director there. So he kind of wooed me, I guess, to come back out and told me a lot of good teams are coming out to preview the course. So it looks like it's going to be a good meet. I saw Adams State is going to be there. Colorado Mines will be there. I think CSU Pueblo. So it'll be a really big test for us, and that's probably where our top people, our top guys, and our top girls. That's where we're going to start to really get going.
We've heard it's a good course.
Yeah, it depends who you talk to. The first probably 3/4 of a mile is straight up this hill, so it could be a little daunting when you're standing on the starting line. My first year in Tiffin, that's where they had regionals, and they were getting some lake effect snow, so it was probably 20, but maybe felt like 0. I was wearing like 2 pairs of everything just to keep warm, and I said later on, it's the most miserable I've ever been as a coach on a cross country course. But I was trying to be positive for all the guys and the guys. I knew if I was, complaining, it wasn't going to help the situation with them. But yeah, it's a great course. I would say it's a true cross country course. Times are out the window. You just gotta go and compete.
Yeah. Will your regional meet be there, or is it somewhere different?
It'll be back at Parkside
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, and then hopefully we have a team or individuals at NCAs.
All right. Awesome.
Coach, before we get into the Final Four, is there anything about Tiffin, about the team that we didn't speak on that you want our audience to know about?
No, I think you guys hit on everything. We're yeah, I always tell people I've seen the best of both worlds in Division 2, I guess. And so we're really, really fortunate here at Tiffin University to have all of the bells and whistles. We have an indoor facility, we have an outdoor facility. We have a lot of great support from our administration. We have a lot of full-time coaches. I've been at schools where it's just been me and one other coach, or like I said, me and a bunch of GAs. So we're really fortunate, and I can take zero credit for any of this. It was all existed before I got here. I tell the team that all the time, that I don't go to people and say I built this, I did this, or I did that. Like Jeremy Croy, who was here for 20 years, he did all the building. Where my office is in the indoor track facility, this was a junkyard 20 years ago. He got the team and all the roster numbers and all that stuff to be able to build this. And so yeah, like I said when we started, I'm just looking to keep the ball rolling, keep the tradition going. It definitely can feel a little overbearing at times. I've only been on the job for 3 weeks, just not wanting to be the guy to drop the ball. But I'm excited about the opportunity to lead this next chapter of the program and get a few more trophies in the hallway, get a few more school records up, and keep, like I said, keep Tiffin as a marquee name in cross country and track and field in Division 2.
Love it. I got one more, Coach, from a cross country perspective. Not that I don't appreciate all the events on the track and the throws and the jumps and all that stuff, but I'm a distance runner at heart and I still compete. I'm curious, being from Monmouth University, we were leaving from campus. You're always running on the roads. I'm sure you guys had some good running spots when you were at LaSalle. In terms of cross country training, do the kids, do they have parks and stuff that you guys get to go to that are relatively close?
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of street running, like you said. But we have a couple places that we rotate through. So, we have 2 bike paths that are about anywhere 15-20 minute drive away. One's completely gravel. They actually are connected at some point, the 2 bike paths, but the gravel one and the paved one go about 50 miles. So can
Nice.
run a lot, some really good long runs, really good tempos and things like that. And then about 2 miles away from campus, we have a really big park where we do a lot of our grass workouts during the fall season. So it is a lot of pavement running. That is something that maybe is a little bit different from other schools or even places that I've been. But we manage. We have our outdoor athletics complex, which is completely grass. So we've gone down there. It's right next to our outdoor track and been able to do 30, 40-minute runs, all on soft surface. So I've only been here 3 years. I'm always looking at Google Maps, zooming in on stuff and saying, oh, what is this? What's this park look like? Or, how far is this from campus? Maybe driving there myself and checking it out. So I'm like any other coach, I'm always looking for new places to train and, driving by somewhere like, oh, that looks interesting. Maybe we can do a workout there, things like that.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, Coach, you mentioned finding places to run for cross country, but you also brought up the fact that you guys have an indoor facility. How clutch is that to have an indoor track facility on campus?
Oh, it's huge. I coached in North Dakota for 5 years. It got down to -20, -30 in the winter. We had a old 160 around the basketball court, and even then I thought that was awesome. But then I got here, and we have a 6-lane Mondo surface. And I tell recruits this when I have them on the visit. I say, when I got here, I wondered, if I kept the same training with the athletes, having a facility like this, what would it lead to? And truth be told, I've coached athletes from 800 all the way up to 10K at Tiffin, and they're the fastest athletes I've ever coached in my career. And so I think that has a lot to do with the resources that are here at Tiffin, not having to, if you're an 800-meter runner, be outside in, 20-degree weather and try to sprint. Not having to me out there shoveling 2 lanes of the track just
Mhm.
so we could get something in. When I was at Metro State, they don't have a facility on campus, so we were at Denver West, and I remember going to the hardware store. And I was poor myself, but I remember going to the hardware store right down the block in Cap Hill and buying a shovel, and then hopping the fence at Denver West and just start shoveling the track because I was like, I don't want to miss training.
Mhm.
I don't want to miss a day of practice, and when we had to do hills. We found one of the parking garages right on campus, and did hills right there, on Metro's campus. So, here to have all of that stuff and not have to worry about any of that, it's a huge benefit. And not just distance, but, we had a guy run 45-2, a couple years ago, last year. In the 400, we have had, the national runner up in the 100 meters, national runner up in the 60 meters indoors. I think a lot of that is just being able to train without any interruption,
Mhm.
seamlessly throughout the year.
Shout out to the Sixth Street Garage.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was there were times where I left my car in there just because I didn't want to leave it on the street, and then I'd wait till the gates went up, and I'd park for free. Hopefully nobody from Metro's watching this, but
I've
I'd
been there,
park.
Coach. I've been there.
I'd park there, and then I'd ride my bike down, pick up my car, and drive out. Now I think there's like a garage door that goes down every night, so I'd really be screwed trying to get my car out. So
Yeah, that warms my heart because there's been times I've parked my car in the garage to avoid having to shovel when I get out of class. So I've been there. But yeah, we know how important it is to have that indoor facility. And talking to all the coaches that we talk to, we know that not all colleges have indoor facilities, so we know how clutch that is. But Coach, we appreciate you sharing, Tiffin, everything you got going on. We're sold. Um, we know you got some great things going on there, and you got a good mind for it. So we're excited to see what you got going on. And with all the ties, Jersey ties, Denver ties, you got two dudes down in the South that will be rooting for you this cross country season coming up.
no, I,
But
I appreciate you guys having me on.
yeah, but before we let you go, we got to get into the nitty gritty. Got to get into the Final Four. So first question I got for you: Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker.
How do you brew your coffee, and how do you take it?
Oh, I'm a true Jersey guy. I'll take a crappy cup of diner coffee. So I'll go to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, and get a cup of coffee. I'm not one of those Starbucks guys unless I have to be. But if I'm making coffee at home, I have a Keurig, so I just throw a K cup on there and a little bit of cream, and that's how I make my coffee. I'm not straight black coffee yet. I was told I'll officially be old, when I start just drinking straight black coffee.
Takes about 2 weeks to get your taste buds, but once you get your taste buds and you can get a good bean, because we're a little bit hipsters. We like our artisan coffee beans.
Sure.
Um, you can get a good coffee bean. It's just as good, I believe, with black.
Coach, I still use cream, so don't worry about it. I'll do black with my iced coffee, but yeah, I got a thing of heavy cream in my refrigerator right now. Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Mark Del Monaco?
I would say, especially since I've taken over the last 3 weeks and the kids aren't on campus yet, but I've really tried to get in a routine of just exercising. I don't really compete anymore, so getting out the door every morning to run, or I got into cycling over COVID, so I really enjoy biking quite a bit. I just feel like it gets the day off to a good start. I'm not perfect with it. There's definitely some days, like this morning, where I'm just so tired and sleep in a little bit, but yeah, that and just trying to have a good mindset showing up to practice, because I know I'm going to be the tone setter. So if I show up because I've had a really bad day, dealing with my athletic director, or some other administrative issue or budgetary issue, I try to leave that in my office as soon as I walk out the door, and try to be excited, to see them and get practice going. Because I even say this to them, if I show up, I'm like, oh man, we got to run and it's 90 degrees outside, like they're definitely not going to want to go outside if I don't want to go outside. So just try to have a positive mindset heading out of my office every day at 3:30.
Coach, I can take that lesson from you. That this guy over here, he knows sometimes he comes on here, how you doing? And I'm like, oh man, I know it just brings the tone down. So I know how important that is, and I can only imagine how more important that is when you have a bunch of athletes that are looking to you for the cue and looking to you for that positive attitude. Like you said, you are the tone setter. Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I'm not reading anything. I probably should be. I have a Kindle with a couple books that I haven't started yet. But music wise, I'm a country music guy, which is surprises a lot of people. Um, my best friend from high school, he got me into country music in college. So yeah, I have XM radio, listen to the highway quite a bit. When I'm driving to work or driving around. I'm not an old school country guy, so I don't listen to like George Strait or people like that much. But yeah, I'm a country music guy. I would probably say it's more pop country is probably how most people would characterize it. So that's probably what I'm listening to these days.
All right, you get down with Morgan Wallen.
Oh yeah, I definitely love listening to his music.
All right, you familiar with Charlie Crockett?
I'm actually he was on a show on Netflix.
Okay,
That he sang. So I started listening to him a little bit after I heard him sing on that show.
okay, right on. Coach, last one we got for you. It's a lighthearted one to close it out. We know you're a Jersey guy, so maybe it's pizza. Maybe it's you've spent some time in Denver. Maybe it's a craft beverage. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Oh, yes, and I would say most of my athletes would probably, if they're watching, they're probably gonna laugh. But I love Mountain Dew, so I can hammer a couple cans of Mountain Dew, which my friends this past weekend in Colorado were amazed by that while they were hammering craft brews. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna drink this Baja Blast, and they couldn't believe how much sugar was in it. So. But yeah, I love a good Mountain Dew. I've gotten into Baja Blast since they've kind of released it this summer, not just at Taco Bell. So, but yeah, any one of my athletes the last 13 years, they'd probably tell you if there's one thing that they know about me is that I can have quite a few cans of Mountain Dew on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, all right. I think that's our first Mountain Dew guilty pleasure, Jim.
Yeah, I think it is. And forgive me, coach, because it's been a while since I've dabbled with the do, but I used to be a code red guy. Is that still a
Oh,
thing?
oh. I believe it is. So I for a long time I've been a traditional Mountain Dew guy, but now they've started making all these flavors and all these things. So I think 2 years ago now, two of my student athletes gave me a birthday gift with like Voltage. It was Mountain Dew, and so I guess started drinking that, and then Baja Blast came out, I started drinking that. But for a long time I was just straight original Mountain Dew. Um, but yeah, I've sort of strayed a little bit. I did drink Code Red when I was in college. But if I'm being honest, like I never quite got into it because I was always like, oh, I'm an original Dew guy. Like that's just what I love.
We had a diner we used to go to when we were growing up, and I'd always get the Code Red. But I'm curious, how often are you drinking Mountain Dew?
Oh, this is bad too, probably. Yeah, I'm probably drinking like maybe 1 or 2 cans a day. So most of my team and a lot of my friends think I have like a terrible diet, and they'll be like, "Don't you eat like a lot of candy and stuff like that?" And I'm not saying my diet's good, but I don't eat a lot of sweets. Like my mom, she'll buy candy when I go home, and like it's like I'm still 17 in her eyes, and like I'm just like, Mom, like I don't eat as much candy as you think I do. I maybe ate a lot when I was, as junior, senior in high school, but I was like, I don't eat a lot of candy. But there's always a case of Mountain Dew usually in the fridge, and they know I'm coming home. But yeah, I'll probably, I probably 1 to 2 cans. I actually have a Baja Blast
Let's
right here. I was,
go.
I was drinking right before I got on with you guys. So.
Well, do you remember back in, I guess it was maybe like '06, '08 when they did the throwback and they had the cane sugar and had the
Oh
old
yeah.
Mountain Dew
Yeah,
guy on
yeah.
it?
I had a good friend in college. He loved that.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was as good as probably the regular Mountain Dew or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
But I remember drinking that, yeah, when it came out.
Yeah, that was my jam. I think I used that in a couple races.
Well, Coach, you got me craving Mountain Dew. I haven't had it in probably a decade, but now I'm
Oh, go get a Baja Blast.
all
Yeah.
right, all right, at your request. But Coach, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for joining the Airey Bros. Super, like I said before, super excited to follow you and the program this cross country season into indoor and outdoor track and see everything that the Dragons got going on. So thanks again for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, Coach, we do appreciate your time, and we'll be rooting for the Dragons. We'll be putting that Tiffin pendant up with all our other pendants that we're rooting for come
Yeah,
conference and
let me
nationals
know.
time. We're excited for you. We do appreciate it. Good luck in the fall and good luck with track. And we'll circle back with you after the cross country season, get you back on here to see how it went.
Awesome. Love to chat with you guys. Thank you again. Go
Yeah.
Dons.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Coach Mark Del Monaco. Make sure you check all those links in the show notes. Go give the Tiffin Dragons track and field cross country team some love. Let them know the Airey Bros sent you. That is it for us this week. So we do wish you a happy weekend. We hope you have a great weekend as we're winding down summer here for some of us that are getting back into school. We will be back next week on Monday with John Stout, former Southern Regional head wrestling coach. And then on Wednesday, we will be with Joey Martinez, the head wrestling coach at Menlo University. So